I made it to the finals of the Modern Challenge on the 20th of October with my build of 4-color Keruga Omnath. This video will be round 1 of that challenge, and I will be doing the commentary for the gameplay for this round. Hope you enjoyed the video. Round 1, Game 1, and I'm on the draw. I mulligan a hand that seemed pretty slow with 1 land, and I keep this one on the 6 as a single removal with the Fire Ice that can be played like right now with the lands I have and the Leyline Binding for something later. My opponent's on Sam combo, so this is the combo with Samwise from Lord of the Rings, Cauldron Familiar, and Viscera Seer. So it's an infinite drain combo, and they have the Birthing Ritual. I'm in a lot of trouble already, and they have the Cauldron Familiar. Managed to find a 3rd land off the Surveil. Fetching the Thundering Force here because the Fire Ice is face up as a removal spell. So I think I misplay here. I probably should have just removed the Birthing Ritual, but I was afraid they'd have a Samwise in hand. Probably should have just taken the gamble and removed the Birthing Ritual with the Leyline Binding. Got a lot more selection out of that Birthing Ritual, as you'll see as this game progresses. Here I think I make another mistake. I should add the Keruga to hand, because the only way I'm stopping this combo is with Endurance. But say they don't have the combo straight away, I want to be able to cast the Fairy and do something and start developing my board, or even the Ring. So adding the Keruga in hand would still allow me to present the Endurance while potentially developing my board next turn. Yeah, the other Samwise, and this is pretty tricky. I think at this point I've lost because they have 2 Cauldron Familiars. There's no way I can really bait. So if I had the Keruga in hand, I could probably bait it by bouncing something initially, and then they'd have to try and combo, and I'd be able to use the Endurance, but since I didn't do it that way, I did not manage to present that. And yeah, I pretty much lose here. I think the main mistake was not using the Leyline Binding on the Birthing Ritual. The earliest opportunity, I should have just taken the gamble. Yeah, I get comboed out, and I lose this game. This matchup's actually not that bad. Just, yeah, you misplay like that in this game, you're not gonna have a good time. And they win the game. Alright, let's hope to do better in game 2. Round 1, game 2, I'm on the play as I lost the last game. I just wanted to discuss the sideboarding plan for this matchup, so Samwise combo. I like Force Negation a lot against these types of decks because you want to counter stuff such as Portal Calling, and now if they run it, things like Malevolent Rumble, countering tech cards such as Chthonian Nightmare is also pretty useful. And it's mainly Court of Calling, and if you can counter Court of Calling at a really pivotal moment in the game, then you can really slow them down or just outright win the game, in my experience. This was very counterintuitive, but something I found over playing a lot against various Court of Calling decks, such as Omnath. That was really when I found out that Force Negation is actually quite decent against them, especially now that they run Malevolent Rumble. So because the Samwise combo runs a very similar toolboxy kind of package, I thought, yeah, let's try 3 Force Negations. So it's very similar to the sideboarding plan I have for Yawgmoth. I bought out 2 Teferi Time Ravelers. This is because I need to find space somewhere. Teferi is still okay, but it's a little exposed to Orcish Bowmasters, which I think the Samwise deck does run. So I took some of those out. Fable is an automatic cut because it's very slow, doesn't really add too much to the matchup, and it's replaced by Cosmic Rebirth, which can get me various permanent cards that I would actually want. So things like Use Solitudes, maybe a ring that I've dumped to the graveyard, or even things like Flage, so flashing back a Flage, even if you don't escape it, just to hit something for 3 is pretty nice. I found use for Cosmic Rebirth. And I took out an Omnath, again for space, but also Flage is just a very similar threat that's also better because it can interact with a creature on their board. And that's what you're really trying to do in this matchup, just trying to keep the board clean. So I hope that explains the sideboard choices I made for this matchup and this game. So opponent keeps a 7, I mull to 6, try and mull into some early cheap removal like the Dead Guns and Fire Ice that you see now. Yeah, opponent begins with the Delighted Halfling, so pretty good start. Illusion Binding, so I suspect maybe opponent has a Birthing Ritual or some other permanent-based toolbox card. I shock in the Steam Bends because my plan is to ice, and then if I draw like a Dead Gun, I'm going to be able to cast it immediately on like a Dork they may play. They may flash in their Bowmasters, but that's okay. I think I'd rather tap them out and prevent them from developing actual combo pieces, so like Skilla Goose or even the Visraseer and Samwise. Yeah, just use the Flage on the Gilded Goose, so they have far less options to play around things like an Endurance, making extra food tokens where the Cauldron Familiar would otherwise be shuffled back into their deck. Just Fire Ice the Samwise to prevent the combo that was being presented on the spot by my opponent there. And yeah, escaped the Flage to break up the board. Opponent seems to be durdling about right now, so it's going okay from the looks of it. They're not presenting Bowmasters, so it's pretty safe to draw first to try and hit an Omnath before playing the Teferi. If you suspect the Bowmasters, obviously the first play would usually be just to play the Teferi and try and bait that out first. Going to the Delighted Halfling because they have 2 Cauldron Familiars. I'm not really getting much out of killing one of these Cauldron Familiars. And the Halfling might enable a big Quarter Calling. We have the Force Negation, obviously, but it's always nice to make it a little harder for Quarter Callings to be enabled in general. For those who don't understand, Delighted Halfling is still a green creature, so it can count for the convert. And yeah, I try and draw the extra card here because I want to prevent getting Bowmastered as much as possible. So I draw while they're tapped out effectively when they fetch. And this lets me Endurance, fire into Endurance on the cats. And we win that game. So yeah, that was a pretty good demonstration of how the removal in this deck is pretty sufficient to deal with these kind of creature combo decks. Just essentially gotta play and apply all the correct cards, but not like in the first game. Round 1, Game 3, I'm on the draw, and nothing changes with the sideboarding. Mulligan a hand with no early interaction, keep a hand with some early interaction, mainly the leyline binding. Force negation is nice, because then I have birthing ritual covered, or call calling. The force vigor is nice as well, if I can get the Keruga into hand. And I fetch the Triumph here, because I envision some of the future turns where I might have to cast a Leyline Binding alongside maybe a Fire Ice or a Dead Gone, and the Stomping Ground rounds off the main and lets me play as many of those mentioned cards as possible. Just add Keruga to hand. Now I have Force Negation live. Opponent mulled to 5 this game. Seems like they have a bunch of quarter callings. At least that was the thought at the time. Just playing this Flage because it's the only play I have, but also just keep their creature count low. It's likely my opponent has at least one quarter calling. And yeah, multiple green cards to cover both Birthing Ritual and the Force Negation to cover the quarter calling, which is super nice. Drew the Teferi. So in hindsight, I think Land Binding on the Orcish Bowmasters was a mistake, because this exposes me to things like Boseiju when I do draw a Teferi, or Cord into some way to remove the Land Binding. It's not a big deal. I have to draw with a Teferi here because I don't have my 4th land. But the nice thing about this situation, at least, is that my life total is still healthy, and the Quarter Calling here is not being used to combo off, which is far worse for me. Especially if my opponent's on a mull to 5. So it's debatable whether they actually should have done that as well. That play just now. Yeah, as you can see, there's an Amalia. That chord could have been a Wild Growth Walker. Sure, we have the interaction, but they're a combo deck and they just mull to 5. I think full sending it, conserving your pieces for your actual combo that kills your opponent is probably more important. But it's a hard choice, I guess. So I got quite lucky there, I guess, as well. Yeah, I just use the Cosmic Rebirth here because I gotta start drawing lands and drawing stuff. The Fairy at least keeps the board temporarily clean. I can replay the stuff, but still better than nothing. Still strands their mana. Makes the Quarter Calling worse. And yeah, the Amalia just comes back. There's a choice here on whether to play the Keruga or the One Ring. I think playing the One Ring is better, because I want to keep up this Force Negation. A single Quarter Calling could kill me, or put me in a position where I can't come back from. But the One Ring is still better here, even with my low life total. I still have the Flage in the graveyard. And there's enough pitch spells in my hand that I could just fill the graveyard up to 6 cards and cast a Flage to get some of my life total back up. There's no possibility of Bowmasters, which means the draw here is very comfortable. And I pitched a Supreme Verdict since Solitude plus Elesh is going to clear up multiple creatures anyway. And at this point, I can also start. I could actually just play the Keruga here because they would need multiple cards. They can't even have multiple quarter colons because they need triple green twice. So there's a lot of lines here. I think the most obvious is just to cast Afflation in the graveyard. And yeah, so I think game 2 was a better showcase of when both decks have enough resources to compete in the matchup. I think this game I got a little bit lucky with them mulliganing to 5, but I mulliganed to 6, so it's not so uneven.